Hey y'all. So it was brought to my attention that I should probably do a video on radiation, and that is because it's needed. And I guess people are not really fully understanding, so I'm going to extrapolate. Okay, so let's start with every single thing that you can think of in the technology world connected to, first, it started with TVs and microwaves. Then it branched off into a series of devices that were able to provide us with what we have now today called the smart grid, smart cars, smartphones, smart houses, etc. And so all of these devices are heavily covered in radiation, which is poison for any living being's nervous system. Over the course of a long period of time, it's poison and essentially going to debilitate that individual. We're talking mostly humans, but it technically goes for animals and plants as well. So the whole kingdom now is being attacked by the radiation. However, it's only where? It's only in the first world. Why? Because there's so much more densely populated areas, so much more access to internet and Wi-Fi. There's not that type of level of access to energy in third world countries, especially if you're living in the rural areas. If you're in the countryside of a third world country, you better believe that's the healthiest environment for your nervous system, for your brain, and for your body. Everybody needs to start thinking about the world differently. And people are really missing out on how these people live their lives. Okay, so I need to get back on track. There is an excess of home goods and lifestyle items that are being produced and force-fed into the first world cities and first world countries. No matter where you go, that supply chain is the same in those areas. So you're getting access to computers, phones, and things that we are being asked to use on an everyday basis, whether it's socially, professionally. You have to check your emails for your jobs. You have to check your phone constantly for your friends and whoever's calling you. And everybody acts like if they don't have their phone, then they're going to be in danger, like they're going to die or something. And I'm like, maybe you should practice going without it every once in a while. Like, you need to let go of it because you're walking around with a device that is giving your body radiation. Like, there's firsthand proof of it. Like, people who have been using their device right here on their body right here, you can develop actual problems all throughout your entire body as a result. But it could also be isolated to that area that you've been using it the most. So for example, around your upper thighs and wherever you have your pockets, where you have your phone in your pocket. And then for women, it would be these sides on this side here, because if they're carrying a purse, and then they could also have it in their pockets as well. So no matter what, it's close to the body and close to the brain. And then imagine when you're talking on the phone or listening to music or whatever, and you have to hold it so close to your head like this. You got to be kidding me. You got to put it on speaker phone and hold it as far away from you as possible, and you're still getting hit. So it's not a chance to be negative and say, oh, we're drowning in radiation. Although that is partially true, it's up to you to disconnect it, to unplug everything. I used to work in sales in Boston, in the industrial district there in South Philly. Oh, sorry, South Boston, near where the ships and that port are, like that area there. It's so beautiful. The building was amazing. And it was just such a great opportunity. And so I was on this pilot team, and we would sell people solar panels, and we would have to zoom up on their houses on Google Earth and see, this was all over the New England area, to see where they were located, how many trees they had. Of course, I didn't start with that cool of a job. I had to do the inside sales. Yeah, inside sales for many months first, but I was getting paid commission, and I was doing well enough that I saved up enough to go to Asia. So I was like, whoa. And so I got pushed into this team of people, a smaller pilot team, and we got to do those solar panel things. And we didn't have to work in insulation anymore. We didn't have to work with any HVAC or the ductless mini split systems. We were selling those ductless mini splits, the heating and cooling systems that are in all of Asia and most part of the world, but not, ironically, they're not to be found as a common thing in the US, UK, or well, Australia does have them, so they caught on because they're on that side of the world. But what I'm trying to say is everybody is behind here in terms of the energy. In the US and in the UK, it's very slow to catch on, but that's not really the focus. The focus is TVs. You basically have to unplug the TV, because I'm talking about phantom voltage. When you have things plugged in to the wall and you're not using it, it's still charging your account, and it's still using electricity just for it to be plugged in. So the only thing that I have plugged in is my refrigerator. My refrigerator and my stove are the two things that are technically plugged in. And then the only other thing that I have is my iPad, which I know you guys are trying to say, oh, the iPad has radiation. Of course it does. Absolutely. And what I do for myself is every night, and I tell my clients to do this as well, and I would recommend this for you, is turn it on airplane mode before you go to bed and set it somewhere, like on a desk or something. Don't put it with airplane mode still on into your bed and sleep there with it on. No. That's constant radiation bombardment that you don't need, because you already got that all day long, whether you're in school, at work, working anywhere. I mean, if you're not a farmer living in the middle of nowhere, living off the land, then you're eligible for radiation. So I'm just like, wow, like these people's brains and bodies and organs and everything it's mostly the nervous system, right? And if you look at the charts of what kills people, now this is really interesting. If you look at the numbers of what people actually die from, you'll notice that terrorism is in the very bottom category. That's the smallest amount of risk to humans. The largest risk is related to heart diseases and like diseases within the body, like brain, any kind of cancer, and it just so happens that the radiation directly causes cancer. Surprise, surprise. So it's used heavily, and our bodies are exposed to it basically nonstop, especially if you live in a city, because a Wi-Fi modem, the modem itself is already connected. I mean, my client lives in like a smart house, so she has security. She has a smart heater. I mean, the girl is talking to us the whole time. Every time I open the door, the computer is like, the front door is open. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, so she has this amazing house, but it's a smart house and we're getting cooked. And then they have like multiple TVs and multiple computer systems and a smart fridge. And I'm just like, this is exactly the agenda right in front of my face, you know? So I would say, if you don't believe me, you want to fact check yourself on Shaking My Head Productions. This guy does an entire tutorial and shows you his radiation device that it's a radiation sensor, and he shows it going off to the highest degree, which is thousands and hundreds of thousands times more what the body can handle. And then he shows you what it's like with airplane mode turned off. It drops down to 0. So just take a look at the facts before you decide to have all of these devices in your home. And really try and minimize it as much as possible, because, well, unless you feel like getting brain damage, radiation, cancer, and blah, 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 the list goes on, chronic illnesses, unless you feel like having to deal with that, then cut the cord and minimize it as much as possible. And then you will be living freely, and you'll be way healthier, and that goes for the next 15 to 20 years. So if you don't feel like dealing with a chronic illness or a debilitating disease within the next 15 to 20 years, then you should start to turn your airplane mode on, so that you don't have to deal with this, and so that you can live longer and healthier. And the other point that I forgot to make is that the nervous system, so here's the largest reason why people die: heart disease, right here. Then you jump down to, it's the medium reason why people die. In the middle, the medium reason here is nervous system failure of the nervous system here at medium. And then the very smallest, it's a dot, the very smallest threat to humans is terrorism. It's a dot on the fucking map. Then you see the inversion. Then you can see the social struggles going on, the medical, the psychological, the agricultural, the list goes on, okay? And so that's all I have to say. And shout outs to Poshmark, because this shirt is the coolest shirt I've ever seen in my whole life. Okay, love you guys. Ciao.